Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order for the notice of the public hearing on September 24th, 2013 at 6:15. And we have one action item. I'd like to entertain a motion to expend $10,000 from the from the School Expendable Trust Fund under RSA 19820C for the purpose of replacing windows at the Ellis School.
Well, okay.
So moved.
Seconded?
Discussion.
Well, there's no community input, there's no community here. So, that'd be a public hearing, you'd ask for.
You should leave this hearing open for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
someone
And
show up.
if no one shows up, when you can conclude and you're all set and you can
Yeah.
have your vote. Or if somebody shows up, you listen. But
Mhm.
you leave it open for 15 minutes.
Okay, so we'll leave this open for 15 minutes
Yeah.
and then we'll vote.
2 and 4, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And probably, if you want to prove that you were here for 15
All right.
minutes. Yes.
It'll be a very fun YouTube video to watch.
You could put it that way.
I know, I could,
Yeah, turn it around to the public.
to the clock.
To the clock. And to anybody who might walk in there.
Oh, here comes a car. Here comes a car.
Driver's ed, probably.
Oh, you're right, he is. Oh, dear. You'll be all excited.
Our public loves us, see?
Well, they're clearly not disturbed by it.
Mhm.
They did have the opportunity to know that it was being advertised and that it was, people tend to show up when they're upset more than they show up when they're content. So, you can assume that there's a fair amount of contentness with this, if that's a
Mhm.
word. I think it's okay to do it. The windows will make a difference in the school. It's even a difference.
Okay. And then, would everybody be more comfortable when we open the regular meeting to have a copy of this do you want me to print a copy of this for everybody? This is the information I compiled from all of you.
Please.
Would it be easier to work off the paper? And what about,
Yeah,
you don't need it?
no, you can do it.
And as part of the board goals, I think some of these are board goals as well. Do you have a copy of this, or would you all like a
That one I would
copy?
like a copy of, I did print out, what you had sent us.
Okay,
already,
so you
I don't
have
need the
one.
first one, which
Yeah,
was the
yeah, I would
goals.
need-
I'm all set.
You already
I was
have
just
it.
gonna say,
Okay.
it's
I'll take it.
completely acceptable at this time to do informational work, and organize your next
Okay.
meeting. Just don't discuss anything
Nope,
until,
just want to be prepared.
yeah?
Can I have a copy too?
Yes.
Okay.
So when was the last time you were here?
Oh, boy. A while ago, for the fair.
I was gonna say, have you ever been?
I went
Right,
last
we
year
had
for
a,
the
we
fair.
had, we had the reunion, we had the multi-class
Oh, you went to
reunion
that?
at Topsfield.
Last year I didn't go, I went the year before.
Yeah, I went this year, and,
I went to the Sweet 16.
well, it's amazing, I mean, all reunions are 7 feet time with people, and it was kind of really nice. It's way more.
It's nice to get to know
Yeah,
them.
it is, yeah, you know people, I didn't, I mean.
They're great people,
Oh, they are.
Just never knew who they were.
And one guy,
I
I don't know if you remember Jim Stewart, most people knew him.
Name is familiar.
Yeah. He wrote this, he did, on his Facebook page, oh, I met so-and-so, and I spent time with Andy Colofer, and I sent him back. I never even saw you. What the fuck, what are you telling people you spent time with me?
That's funny.
It was sweet. Well, I saw you, but I couldn't get to you. I said, okay, well, you didn't spend time with me. That was funny. But,
That's right, fair time should be coming up.
yes.
First week in October.
Yes, the Columbus weekend, it ends Columbus
Yeah,
weekend.
weekend.
So,
I liked it better when it was over Labor Day.
funny thing about that fair, I remember this, because they used to have dog racing here.
Yes.
And then, of course, politics
Yep.
moved against us,
Yeah.
and so they closed it down, everyone was afraid that the fair would collapse, and it got better than ever. Now it has more attendees, and it's making more money than ever made. It's not the horse race.
Well,
But-
the Midway is triple the size.
Oh, yeah.
The Midway's huge.
Oh, yeah?
I still like to go look at the bunny rabbits. though.
Yeah, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Look at the big
Yeah.
pumpkin,
Yeah.
ox poles,
Yeah.
horse poles, see the dog corrals, yeah.
And we used to show our sheep down there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my brothers showed cows, cattle, and my younger brother and I showed sheep.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was fun.
Oh, yeah. Is there a big 4-H thing around here? I haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
There is a mass, but we have agricultural school
Right,
and all those
right,
around,
yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many people going to farm there around here. You think it'd be a bigger
It's
deal
true.
around here.
Maybe future, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about chickens in America either, but.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's
huge.
And I always loved
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they had the cooperative.
4-H.
There's a 4-H.
What? You
There are?
Is there?
There is one here.
Way up in
They
the.
come to the, I know some kids that are in it, but I don't know one.
Good, it's good to hear that, it's a great, great
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you see nowadays when you still in the classes.
There are few who are in my class, many of them, Stephen Hurt, Mary Jane Bell, and they live in her mother's house. Chris Tucker, Chris Hoopen, Jane's youngest brother, took their parents home.
Oh, yeah, I remember Jane, yeah, I remember Jane.
Yeah, Jane lives out in the Midwest now, but they're gonna be moving back here when he retires, so.
Yeah.
There are a few others around.
Mhm.
Melody Babins still live in town, Deanna Babin.
Oh, yeah.
She's big on organizing stuff with the fair, she does
Oh,
a
really?
lot of work for the fair. I remember her dad, he did remember Earth Ray Farm?
Uh-huh.
Big farms, we had one of them up behind our house where we were, and then there was the other one across town, and her father was a farmer there.
Mm.
There's not that many.
That's when my brother started passed up.
Still want to be in your
I feel
way.
like I'm
It's a great place to grow up. you know.
Yeah, it was a good place to
It's a
go.
great place to grow up.
Yeah. Because we used to hang out, you know, there's always kids hanging out in the common.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember one year, every night, all the trash cans in the common were tipped over, and the police and parents would decide, oh, who are the kids? They're out to hang them.
Uh-huh.
And so one night, the cop went out there late at night and just sat there, and he heard the trash can tipping, and turned out as a family of raccoons.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the whole town's up in arms. Those kids, they're messing everything up. Oh, what are those long-haired hippie guys there? You know, they should be in bed. What are they doing outside? It was a family of raccoons.
Raccoons, that would be about right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So.
So
Yeah.
where'd you guys grow up?
Salisbury until I was in 6th grade. In Indiana 4 years, and then I moved to Epping.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm right from Mass too, Amesbury, Merrimack,
Yeah.
for a very long time, so we moved up here.
I grew up in Billerica. Did you? Very good.
I actually grew up in Connecticut.
That's good. I grew up in Connecticut.
I was there
Harlem.
for 2 years.
Oh,
2 years.
you had a big impression on you. Did your parents stay there for a long time?
They left in 80.
She grew up in Harlem.
They got a street in there.
Oh, where is it?
It goes right in front of the church, and that's a town, it's a town road.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize the circle on it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
yeah. He was very active at the time.
Yeah, I think I saw that the other day.
Yeah, so. But,
That's what you say from, is it Topsfield?
Topsfield. I spent my first few years in Walpole, Mass, and then my parents moved to Topsfield for the schools.
oh, yeah.
And they were out of Linfield, those two. My dad worked in downtown Boston, so
Oh, wow.
he commuted, yeah. And even Topsfield was only half an hour out of the city.
It wasn't that far. And Route 1, well, it's just Route 1.
Route 1 back then, you could drive.
Right,
Yeah.
And with no cars on it,
right.
you know. We need a major plague. Oops.
Yeah. But it was,
it was just a lot easier to treat people.
Yeah, it was in reality. Seems a lot that time.
I drove from here down to Boston or Cambridge for like 8 years.
Oh, wow, how long did it take you to get there?
Do that.
Depending what time I left in the morning, hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, and my brother went from Wyndham to downtown Boston for a long time. There were days he said it took him 2.5 hours to get home. It was just,
My worst was 4 hours in a snowstorm.
yeah. At least it's not as bad as LA. My son goes 3 miles to work and it takes him 45 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, LA is,
45 minutes, 3 miles.
I guess Houston's bad too.
when you get the mud season in LA, it's like,
Mud and fire.
Yeah.
Those are the two seasons.
Yeah.
I lived there for 4 years.
Yeah.
Mud and fire.
yeah, nothing moves.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything
different
moves out
schools out there.
Portsmouth, though, I like in Portsmouth.
Yeah, Portsmouth is nice. That's a very convenient, this is very convenient to that. Very
Well,
convenient.
yes, actually, that's why I hope, I'm gonna be hoping the selectmen vote on the warrant article to set up an economic development committee
Wow,
for Fremont.
Yes.
This, I mean, this
Yes.
place is, you got Manchester, you got
it's a
the
great
Portsmouth,
location.
it's a great
Highway's
location.
close enough but far enough.
Yeah, and it's a great location and,
It's a beautiful town.
and nobody knows about it
Yeah,
because we don't publicize ourselves.
yeah. The interesting thing about Fremont is how all of your services are all over the place. The library's way down there. The police station and the school are next to each other,
Right.
but, you know, your town garage is in another place.
Right.
Everything is all
Right.
over the
Right.
town.
There's no like center with all the,
No.
everything there.
They're kind of hoping when they develop the
Cooperage.
Cooperage, that would turn into a center.
Yeah,
And that was kind of the original idea of that'd be the beginning of a downtown Fremont.
hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the idea.
So I'm gonna take a vote on that motion that we had, because the
Yeah.
public hearing's gonna close in a minute.
All right.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And it passes, and I'll take a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, I am gonna call the regular school board meeting to order, and I'd like to, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we do a roll call, please?
Brady's here.
Karati here. Keen here. Kit here.
Cole for here.
Okay, we're gonna start with the old business. We have policy BA, the evaluation of the board operational procedures, and BAA, board self-evaluation. So, hi Stu. I thought maybe what we would start with is the board eval we did. I don't think we ever really formalized a form and put it down as to who voted which way and rated us which way, so I did combine everything with the notes, and probably we should put those onto the minutes so the public can actually have a copy of our self-eval. So I'll give that to you, Sue, to have attached to the minutes. And then we're gonna go on to finish up our goals. Revise our goals, change our goals, and/or add new goals. So what we have done is we sent everybody a little copy of what we're supposed to be doing here as a board. And we asked for everybody's input. So now what we're gonna do is go down and see if there's anything that stands out as agreeable to, or not agreeable to everybody. 12 board operations and relationships is 1 board meetings. And what we had for suggestions was start on time. All members are encouraged to speak freely, though civilly. Discussion stays on topic. No meeting should last more than 4 hours. If more time is required, we should adjourn to the next available time slot. Agenda packets are available 4 days prior to the meeting. Minutes are posted promptly per regulations. Policy on board meetings is followed. And I had added keep student learning at the forefront of actions and decisions at board meetings. So, Are any of those things we don't want to be doing? Or
I like them all.
comments?
Is that, I mean, that third, the fourth bullet, is that a goal, or is that just a procedure?
1, 2, 3, 4.
No meeting should last more than 4 hours.
These are kind of your norms. They look like what you almost set up as norms.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's a goal, just that'd be a procedure we want to adopt.
I was gonna say, you might want to adopt these as your norms.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Okay.
yeah.
Just have to see
What was your last one there?
Keep student learning at the forefront.
I think I can-
So you're saying all these would be norms or just that one? Maybe
All of them. They're all things that you would desire to continue to do.
It's what we're gonna rate ourselves on at the end of the year, basically, is what these are. It's how did we do here with these things that we set for ourselves as standards or norms,
Whatever you want to call them.
okay?
Okay, and you said keep student learning.
At the forefront.
At the forefront of actions and decisions.
All right.
It's right here.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
It's on my copy.
It's handwritten in.
So everything there looks okay?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Yes, it looks good.
All right, we're just gonna get consensus here. Policy development. Policies are up to date, reflect state law and regulations. To work with the superintendent to review, maintain, and to keep our school policies up to date and legal. Establish a board policy committee that meets monthly to review and bring forward policies as recommended by the superintendent at the second meeting of the month or as necessary.
I think they kind of all say the same thing. So we should just pick one.
Well, we've already achieved the third one, right?
I think the third one is the one we should do.
We already done that.
We already have a.
We already have a policy committee.
I know, this is what we're gonna be.
We're starting next month.
Exactly.
Next year's goes to.
In other words, yes, this is what we're going to do as a
So-
board.
all
These
right.
are the principles we will follow as a board, and this is what we're gonna actually grade ourselves on next year, instead of the stuff that we couldn't grade ourselves on because it really wasn't stuff that we were supposed to.
I'll go,
do yet.
I'll suggest go number 3. It's all
And
it's the
just
same.
remove the others.
Yeah,
Okay,
Remove the first two?
yeah.
because they say the same thing. Did anybody have anything else for that one? Okay, fiscal management. All aspects are understood and can be explained by all members.
I like that.
There's an awful lot of lines in our budget.
I like that. So we might need a training session, but that's okay.
I mean, that's a
For
goal.
anybody that needs a training session, they just need to speak up. Those of us that understand it can train.
I mean, the thing is,
Training session.
is it, even though the goal isn't necessarily achieved, but it's something that you want to, do we think that aspire to, and is this something that we think is important?
Mhm.
I mean, I think all of us should be able to speak fluently about the budget,
I agree.
you know? Even though I get a headache every time I look at it. We still need to be able to explain it, be fluent in it.
Budgets reflect the sense of the town and do not cause division. Budget process is open. Budget is thoroughly vetted. To support the school with whatever they need while being fiscally responsible. Board review of financials is based on data, reports, and auditor feedback. Board questions related to fiscal management are to verify the reports offered and gain a better understanding of such reports. The board will review monthly financial reports at the first meeting of each month, including balance sheet, expenditure report, revenue report, and grant report and applications. Manifest review and payroll review will occur in a timely manner. The board will oversee that the policy regarding the transfer of funds is being followed.
Do we want to, I mean, some of those, I was just thinking, on, number 2, bullet number 2 and bullet number 5, could we kind of, sort of combine that into like to develop a budget recognizing both the needs of the school, the needs of the school and the desires of the community? I mean, and we eliminate the second one and turn that into the fifth one? Or do you want to keep it the way it is?
Any
Well,
comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, we have to develop a budget that can support the needs of the school. We also have to keep in mind the restrictions of the community members as far as finances go, but I think we do that by bringing forth a fiscally responsible budget automatically.
I think it concerns me that it says to support the school with whatever they need.
Yeah, it does that,
It's
yeah.
kind of
Well-
open-ended.
Just leave out the whatever they need.
Oh, being fiscally responsible.
Yeah, I think as long as our goal is to bring forth a budget that supports the needs of student learning
Right.
in the district, you know,
Well, I think the sport,
responsibly,
right,
then we're covering all.
right. But I think develop a budget recognizing the needs of the school and balancing that with, you know, the wants and desires of the community. You know, I mean, that kind of,
It's all in there
That's-
somewhere.
yeah, I mean,
It's
I
just
think
spread
that's,
out among a lot of different.
yeah, I mean,
parts.
and I think that kind of catches both things,
Yeah.
you know.
Except then it's left to interpretation if you word it like that, as to what are the wants and desires of the community.
Its wants and desires can't necessarily override what you have to provide for the school.
Can I make a suggestion on
Yeah.
bullet two?
Mhm.
Budgets reflect the priorities of the town,
Right.
instead of sense,
Right.
priorities. Because you can, the old saying is, you can look at a budget to determine the priority of any organization. It's the priorities that are reflected in the budget.
Mhm.
Budgets reflect the priorities of the town. And should it say and do not cause division? Because I don't know how you know that. until
Yeah, I don't know
you
how
Yeah.
you can prevent that. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I would get rid of that.
And then, what was you gonna say?
I was gonna say, let's say it's a lofty goal.
We need to take baby steps here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't been to a meeting yet, so.
you'll
Yeah,
never
it has to
forget.
say something else though. Budgets reflect the priorities of the town while meeting the needs, the recommended requests of the district.
While supporting student,
It has to.
while supporting student learning.
I mean, part of, I mean, I think what we're trying to say is that we have to balance with what the needs of the school are, basically what the town can, what we believe the town can afford. And that's sort of what we're saying, and with, of course, within that, you know, goal is, you know, innovation and grants and, you know, and doing all sorts of things that we can do to improve the school without necessarily spending money. Because there are ways to improve education without spending money. And we've talked a lot about some of them tonight, prior. So, but I mean, that's sort of.
So what we're saying is that the board should balance the resources available
Right,
with the requirements
or with the need to provide a quality education for the students, or something like that.
Anybody? Else?
Well, so the way the wording sounds is, to me, is that we have to get, whatever the school, and so, I mean, I know when I wrote this, so what I was trying to get at the point was, whatever the school needs to achieve, you know, what one of our top goals was, student learning, you
Right,
know, we need to provide for them. And, you know, putting something that says, I forget what the word was, by, you know, the desire of the child, the wants of the child, I think the school has to provide that, we have to provide what they need. The town may not want it, but we have to provide it. How do we do it at home? You know, not necessarily spending money, but we have
Right.
to provide it.
yes, we do have to provide it.
But this is about fiscal management.
It's about
Right.
fiscal management,
So
you know, I mean, and.
this is a goal about fiscal
Yeah.
management.
And this also reflects contracts, you know, because, you know, the teacher's contract 2 years in a row, 2 years was voted on, 1 year wasn't, wasn't voted by the teachers, but, so I mean, this all reflects, this is all part of that. We're gonna, that when we, we have to keep that in mind too. We could do anything we wanted to, but if the town keeps saying no, then it doesn't do us any good. And actually, so,
Is there anything in here that people disagree with? Now that you've made that one change.
The only one I really don't like the way it sounds is to support the school with whatever they
Yeah.
need while being fiscally
yeah, I
responsible.
like that,
Can we take out the with whatever they need and just to support the school while being fiscally responsible?
Yeah, I would say, but what does it mean to be fiscally responsible? I mean, I'd say balancing the financial resources of, providing a quality education by balancing the financial resources of the town with the education needs of the students.
You can say to support student learning while being fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yeah,
Let's change it to that.
yeah, that sounds good. So,
So it says to support student learning while being fiscally responsible.
Right. So we're getting rid of 2, and we're getting rid of 5. and
Two
we're
is a
going
change.
with-
Well, we're not getting rid of them, we're just revising them.
Right, but I mean, I'm crossing them off,
Oh.
and we're going with the one that you just said, correct?
Yeah. And 2 is budgets reflect the priorities of the town. Right? That's what we decided to change
which
it.
actually makes sense, because they won't vote for it.
I thought we were combining the 2 of them.
That's exactly.
No, we weren't combining them, we were keeping them separate. Does anybody have any others they'd like to add to that?
The third one, can we just change open to transparent?
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So, educational program development. The board holds educators accountable that the programs deliver as promised, meeting improvement in skill level and mastery by all students, and that teachers are adequately prepared to present it. Where appropriate, the school board ensures curriculum supports community values and meets the school motto and goals. The board should be there to support the Ellis staff. The board accepts recommendations from the superintendent. The board directs the superintendent to provide recommendations that will meet the educational goals of the district. The board receives regularly scheduled presentations of the programs as they are being developed and implemented into the district through the superintendent.
Could we eliminate, let's see, one, because 2 of them, I mean, the.
Well, what happened is
1,
you
2, 3,
compile all of them so
4, right.
that somebody might have had the same thought.
Yeah,
So-
I think we can eliminate 4 and just keep 5, because they're pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's more of a procedural thing, We don't always accept them, either, actually.
It's not your idea,
But,
not your
yeah.
job to represent.
Yeah, so that's it, because we don't always accept recommendations from the superintendent.
That's fine.
So, which one do you want to get rid of?
I want to get rid of the board accepts recommendations from the superintendent, like, get rid of that
Okay.
one, and just keep the next one. Provide a recommendation that will meet the
They were
educational
probably
goals.
just writing that to say that we don't get the stuff from the school, we go through with the superintendent. I think it seems like that's the theme here.
Right.
I don't understand the first one, what its intent is.
Okay, the board holds educators accountable that the programs deliver as promised, meaning improvement in skill level and mastery
Yeah, it's like
by all
meaningful.
students
Probably supposed to be meaningful.
Yeah,
as promised, meaningful improvement in skill level and mastery by all students, and that teachers are adequately prepared to present.
right, and what, that.
The educational program, is
Yeah.
that what it is?
The reason, actually, I think I wrote this.
I don't know.
But, yeah, I did, but
Remember.
I was actually specifically thinking of that drop off in third grade. And that, when we talked about in our evaluation, how we should have been on top of that. And that's sort of what this is about, is saying that we, you know, if there's issues, whether they're good or bad, you know, we wanna know what's working, what isn't working in the school, and we wanna be able to, you know, and that, you know, just because someone says, let's do this, and, okay, we did this, a new reading program, you know, we should be asking, is it working?
Yeah.
You know, is it working? We don't pick the reading program, but we say, okay, you pick a reading program, now, we have a right to say, is it working? Are you getting the results from it?
But in this goal, it says that we hold the educators accountable, but that's not our role either, is it?
Yeah,
You're supposed to hold me accountable to hold them accountable.
Right.
And then if I don't, you fire me.
That's right.
So the board holds the superintendent accountable
Yeah.
instead of the educators, okay. Yeah,
Well, isn't that what the second to the last one says? The board directs the superintendent to provide recommendations that will meet the educational goals of the
Yeah.
school
yeah,
district?
that's a whole different thing, because that's talking about, I look at that as nominating, you know, the nominations for every year. I'm talking about policy recommendations, I'm talking about board procedure recommendations. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that have nothing, that are.
Right, but I wrote this, and it was for educational program development,
Oh, okay. Oh,
because that's what we're under.
all right.
And basically what we're saying is, we're gonna meet with the superintendent on what we believe the school needs. She's gonna tell us what she thinks the best programs are, and then we're gonna ask her to implement those and hold her accountable for them.
So,
We don't hold the staff accountable, the superintendent and the principal do. There is a definite separation, and there should be.
Okay, well then you should add to that and hold, I mean, there should be something, I mean, there has to be something in here that says that we're looking at the performance, are the programs delivering as promised? I mean, there needs to be something in here, because we need to be on top of that. If we're really into improving education in the school, then we have to know that these programs are delivering.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
could probably work that into that last one where it
How about if
says,
we just put in progress thereafter, at the end of that?
at the end of the last
The
one.
last one.
See, the last one says the board receives regularly scheduled presentations of the programs as they are being developed and implemented into the district through the superintendent. And then what were you saying?
And something to the
Monitors the
effect, and progress
Monitors
thereafter.
the progress.
Yes, monitors the progress. Something that shows that we're not done at that point, if we still have to make sure that progress or monitoring is done.
You might want to state that the superintendent is responsible to the goals of the school board. Because that's really what you're looking at.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, is the board holds the superintendent responsible to work to the achievement of the school board's goals.
Because that could be under, that's, you're going to school board superintendent relations, isn't it, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Where did that go? Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so, I was thinking, but this is,
This is program development.
this is program
You're right.
development.
We're
and
getting
where-
away.
Yeah, and where, and what,
So why can't-
what, basically, what we need to ask ourselves is, what is our role in program development? Certainly not picking the programs.
Mhm.
So what is our role in program development?
So can't we just change the first one to say the board holds the superintendent responsible for the, you know, that the programs are delivered as,
The programs deliver what they were, as, the programs, whatever. I mean, blah, blah, blah.
I think what you're trying to say is that they meet the goals of student learning
Right,
that were set
right.
at the time of the program implementation.
Right.
You're implementing a program to meet some student learning goal.
Right,
So what you're saying is you want to be sure that, I mean, I think when you set the goal, they know that they're being held accountable to that goal.
right.
But we don't set the goal. I
no,
mean,
but
we don't
can
set the
say
program, but we,
But it's up to us to make, I mean, we're spending money, and it's up to us to make sure
meet the goals of
that it is working, the program's working. If they did a new, change the math program, you know, and the scores tanked, I mean, obviously, we would wanna know what's going on, you know, or if the scores jumped, we would wanna know, you know, I mean, that's something we wanna hear. And if-
So,
You know.
how about if you just add to the
Or if
last
it didn't
one,
change.
in order to review and revise as necessary?
Right, yeah.
Because then you're reviewing and revising as you go.
Right.
Because you're being, the reports, they come to us and tell us how things are going.
Right,
And what we've been falling down on, according to our eval, is we're not saying, okay, so we didn't do so hot on that as a district for student learning, so how can we fix it? And
right.
do you have any ideas for what you're gonna do to fix it? And if you don't now, could you bring some back to us? So that we're following up with those things, because what we said
Right.
is sometimes we get the news, but we don't then say, what are we gonna do to fix
Yeah.
it? Or
Right.
to make it better, or what did we do that made it so good? So that we can
Mhm.
do it again.
Right.
So we're axing number 1,
Yeah, looks like that.
and
One.
2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're adding that wording on the end of number 6.
And we also got rid of 4.
Number 3 really doesn't have anything to do with educational program development.
And I think number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the board of superintendent, that should probably kind of go under board superintendent relations.
The board directs the superintendent to
Yeah.
provide
That doesn't
recommendations.
really-
Yeah, that should go under board superintendent relations.
Yeah, the reason I put that there is because it isn't our job, I just wanna make sure we're clear that it isn't our job to create the educational programs.
Right.
It's
No,
our
it's
job
not.
to listen to the superintendent who brings them forward to us.
Mhm.
So if you think it says the same thing as the last one, we can just cross that off
Yeah.
too. Okay, so all we're left with, at this point, that I can see is where appropriate, the school board ensures curriculum supports community values and meets the school motto and goals.
Mhm.
The board should be there to support the Ellis
Yeah, I
staff.
don't think that really has anything to do with program development.
That would be staff relations.
Right.
Yeah, I think board should be there to support
Number 9.
Ellis staff,
relations.
Ellis staff development, I suppose. but-
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah, staff relations.
Yeah,
right.
so I so
Okay,
page
so
number
we're
3
crossing
on.
that.
Yeah,
So we have 2 now. We have this one I just read, and we have the board receives regularly scheduled presentations of the programs as they are being developed and implemented into the district through the superintendent in order to review and revise as necessary, as it relates to student learning.
yeah.
In order to review and revise programs?
Yep, okay. Well, we're under, yeah, because we're under that. As it relates to student learning, right?
Mhm.
To student learning goals. Yeah, I've been known to write long sentences. I think the critical writing teacher wouldn't have my head in
Yes,
the
run on
class.
sentence there, break that into 3 sentences, please.
Just
Board
put your
member-
commas in the right place and you're all set.
Board member orientation. Did anybody want to add anything else to that section? Do you dare?
No.
Yeah.
Board member orientation. A complete orientation packet given to new members. Offer training opportunities.
How about training opportunities are offered?
Yeah.
New board members are made to feel welcome. I think that's a nice goal. New Hampshire School Board Association, new school board member orientation workshop attendance. Speak as one voice.
Yeah, move down to number
This
6.
is orientation.
This is orientation.
Right. So that, that is moved, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they should read the Better Boards book.
Mm-hmm. Becoming a better board member.
Yeah,
it's a
becoming a
good
better
book.
board member. That's a great book.
Oh, yes, this one here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is it?
Taking about 2 years to complete.
Hey.
It has great information though.
Yes, it does.
I reference it all the time.
Mhm.
Okay, so
It's
read
like the Bible.
Mhm.
how to be a good school board member.
They're
Is that-
becoming a better board
Oh,
member.
becoming a better.
Board member.
They get a free copy of that, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, actually, old board members are supposed to pass them on to new board members.
Oh, God.
I brought 2 of them here because I had 3, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kept one.
Mine's all marked up, uh-oh.
That's all
If
right.
you don't return it, we won't be looking for it.
Mine one.
Okay.
Well, we just started.
Did anybody have anything else they wanted to add to board
No.
member orientation? Is there anything that you guys wish you had that you didn't get? because you're newbies.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish you had gotten that you didn't get?
Just experience helps a lot.
Experience.
Um,
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Should we put something in this section about budget training?
Well, that's offer training opportunities are offered.
Well, okay.
I mean, yeah, you need budget
I meant
training, you need
specific to
training in the RSAs, open meeting laws.
Yeah.
all this.
Supervising the superintendent.
What about mentoring each other? No, for orientation, is that?
It would be nice if a new member was assigned a board mentor.
Would that be under board member development?
That would be orientation.
Orientation.
Well, it could
And
be.
the mentor?
Yeah. You're right, if you consider orientation the first thing,
Yeah.
development would be, you're right,
Mhm.
mentoring.
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
we'll move to the next thing then.
I'm not big.
Board, you're not a big mentoring
No, I'm not
person?
big into mentoring, no.
Okay.
I was gonna pick
So
you.
leave it all to the chair to have to answer all the questions from everybody. Don't pick up any slack.
Oh, no, I mean, obviously, you can call anyone on the board if you have questions, but.
Mhm.
But
don't call Andy.
No, you call me, but you need to understand that
Tell
I
him, don't
I have a
listen.
point of view of things, so you have to, take that. Depends what questions you ask me.
How about offer that?
Under board development.
Yeah.
We're gonna go right there now.
Well, the board will offer a mentor to new members.
It's
Yes, instead of it being a mandatory thing.
Right,
Yeah.
offer a mentor to new members.
Offer Andy as a mentor.
Andy will mentor all new members.
I don't know if you want that.
All right. Attend locally offered training as time allows, as development.
Does it have to be local, or just be because, there's
Yeah.
training all over the place?
No, local.
It's local?
Meaning we're not gonna go to California for school.
Right.
Oh, really?
We're not paying
No,
for
sorry.
flights and hotels and,
Or,
People do it.
Like, you realize, you didn't go to the clerk convention, did you?
the clerk.
you're off topic here.
Okay,
That's a state.
board
My
members are
school
made,
board had.
okay, board members are made aware of training opportunities and a multitude of are offered.
All right. I think we do that,
Mhm.
that's good.
Okay. Speak as one voice.
The other thing we might be able to add to that, board member development, is having, periodically experts come to the board to present on specific topics,
That's a good idea. Mhm. There are a lot of workshops out there.
Besides the superintendent, who's an expert in everything, but.
Can we change the mentor one?
What do you want to say, Sharon?
Instead of the board will offer a mentor, because that could construe like an outside service.
That's
The
true.
seasoned board members will mentor new
What?
board members.
Yeah, I think just mentoring will be part of I think you just write that mentoring will be part of the not the atmosphere, but the milieu of the board.
The board will mentor new members. You can do that by
Right.
doing it
The
together.
board will
Yeah.
enter new members there. Just get rid of a few words in that
Yeah.
sentence and we're good. Anything else, you guys, on board member development? Board officer performance. Does this mean like the chair and co-chair, or does this mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, board
Okay.
officers are the chair and co-chair.
Okay,
or
so
vice chair.
this is, come to each meeting ready to discuss all agenda items.
That's important.
Come to each meeting with an open mind.
I don't know what that means.
You gotta keep an open mind about that, Andy.
It
That's
means-
where
it
your
means that-
mentoring would come in handy.
Oh, really?
No, but what it really means is that when you have a topic on the table, everybody listens, and you hear everybody out, and then you make your decision.
Right.
Not necessarily what you came to the meeting as your idea, but maybe somebody might say something that makes you realize there's more to the subject than you might have known.
Then maybe what we should say is that open discussion, that the board officers promote open discussion among members on all topics.
Well, I think the point here, I'm not speaking, whoever wrote it, but the person who chairs the meeting cannot inflict their opinion on the board.
Right.
That is an extremely important part of being a neutral chair.
Mhm.
You know, your job is to solicit the input of every single member of the board and meld it together into a decision.
Right.
So, in defense, when I wrote it, I didn't realize it's just officers, I thought it was all of us.
Oh, no. See, when I hear open mind, what comes to my mind is this whole notion of moral relativism and nothing's right, nothing's
Oh,
wrong.
no, no,
You have an
no,
open
no.
mind and be ready to accept anything, and to me, it's kind of a mushy term.
It's not accepting anything, it's listening.
Yeah, listen.
Right,
Listen.
which
it's
is-
meaning, don't
Right.
come in so close, you
Then-
can only see your view.
Then should be come to each meeting willing to listen to others and solicit the opinions of all. That would be, I mean, that's what I would,
All right,
Feel more comfortable with the terminology.
or
to
even being,
each
or being a
meeting.
ready listener and solicitor of opinions.
Well, ready to listen. At
Right.
each meeting, ready to listen and consider all points of view.
Yeah. Or allow expression of all points of view.
Okay.
So that you, I mean, you shouldn't really be shutting people off, you know, everyone should be able to express their mind, their opinion.
got it.
And be given an opportunity to persuade
Ready to
others.
listen and allow open
Expression of all points of view.
Mhm.
allow expression. Officers are prepared for each meeting. Officers treat all members fairly. State laws and regulations are scrupulously observed both during and outside of meetings.
I think that's a big one. A lot of school boards get themselves in trouble because they don't, they kind of skirt the laws, or they don't know or understand what they are.
So number 1 and 3, to me, kind of mean the same thing. Yes?
Number
Yeah,
one.
they are similar,
Number
yes.
one.
Come ready and be prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go on.
so let's just keep one and, okay. Anybody want to add anything to any of that?
Rest of the members?
Other vote?
Anything you should, yeah, what do you think?
Is there anything else
Yeah,
you'd like
No
the
shorts during the
officers-
summer.
Okay, board superintendent relationship. To have an open, honest, two-way communication between the board and the superintendent. The relationship is respectful and forthright. Expectations are clear. There is an honest attempt to work out conflicts. Strengths are recognized and built on. Collaborative, professional, and focused on the successful implementation of the missions and goals of the district. Follow the chain of command. So, what do you think?
Those are good. Follow the chain of command, that was on this one.
It was something that kept being brought up in this book that I had,
Yeah, it's.
and how important it is, because
Yes, it
otherwise
is.
you're undermining the
You-
workings of the school, the administration, the
You mess
staff.
up supervision.
Yeah.
It won't work if you do that.
You don't want to.
Okay,
So are we saying the same thing more than once in these, you know, open, honest, two-way communication, honest attempts to work out conflicts is, would be, to me, means the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
anybody?
I see it, yeah, they are pretty much the same thing.
So we'll take out,
They're
Three,
asked to
one.
work out conflicts.
or take out, four.
Take out 4, leave 1. Because
You
if you have,
okay, Tammy, with that?
you have open, honest, two-way communication, then hopefully you would.
Yeah. Now, 3, are they pretty much, relationship is respectful and forthright, and then expectations are clear? No, okay, I'm sorry. Two different.
Mm. Okay. Board-staff relationship. To build a strong bond with the school staff by continual, open, honest, two-way communication. The board recognizes that it does not have a direct relationship with staff except through the superintendent. These are from all different peoples, you see, so. Board intentions are explained clearly. The board makes a concerted effort to know and understand that staff, there's a typo there, needs to perform their responsibilities to the fullest, follow the chain of command.
I have one thing that the board recognizes that it does not have a direct relationship with staff except through the superintendent. What about like parents that, I mean, in this school, talking to the staff and have a relationship? I know this has to do with being a board member, so that doesn't have any.
I think the way you have to deal with that is that you're gonna have friends, and you're gonna know parents, and you're gonna talk to people, but if something comes up in your conversation that is related to the running of the school and belongs in the chain of command, you have to
Remove
remove
yourself.
it.
Okay,
You
You
have to
said
remove
them
it.
through the chain of command.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and we've all been there, Tammy, we've
Mhm.
all been there at one point or another. Well, Andy hasn't, because he hasn't had any kids in the school.
Well, actually, I did have an incident.
Okay,
I did
okay.
have, I did have an
And
incident.
we had to learn this, because it's hard. You're
Mm.
talking to your friends, like you said,
Right.
and you wanna fix things, because that's what we do.
Mhm.
But it's really important that we say, look, here's the process. You go to your teacher, if that doesn't work, you go to the principal. If that doesn't work, you go to the superintendent, and if that doesn't work, you request a hearing from the board.
Mhm.
And that's how it has to be, so the less I know, the better,
Mhm.
so that I can be
Fair.
completely, fair during the hearing.
Okay.
School board has to be objective.
And you encourage them to go through the process, though, not to just, not to think that you don't care, but you want them to go through the
And
process.
to tell you as little as possible, because if you know too much, you have to recuse yourself from
Right.
the board hearing.
And then I can do no good,
Right.
or,
Exactly.
Right.
Or lend your support or,
right,
Direction or
exactly,
anything.
right,
yeah.
Now,
okay.
I have a question here. The first one says to build a strong bond with the school staff, continue open, honest, two-way communication. The next one says the board recognizes does not have a direct relationship with staff, except through the superintendent. So how do we reconcile those?
One's right, one's wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
One's accurate and one is not.
Right.
You
me,
want to be open and honest with anybody you deal with,
Right.
ever. But the board has to allow the administration to do their job.
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And they can't do that if they have the board's ear, because it's undermining the administration
Right.
at that point.
If you have direct communication with someone on the staff who calls you to complain about stuff, you've got to stop that.
Right. Right. Right.
So I say we cross out number one.
But what were you trying to get at though, Greg? Because I know you know the rules. So you were trying to, I think, say something different there than what it came out, I think.
Yeah, so basically just that, if there's a problem, there's a lot of contention between what we've seen from the staff to the board and what we saw last year,
Yeah,
Let's talk through that, work through that, so we don't have that strain.
right.
So that's fun, trying to get there, just snowy talk.
Maybe because we're not making it so we're not the enemy, that it's communication, even if, I don't know, is that kind of what you, I don't want to be.
Well, you're
okay.
right, that
Yeah,
there was
just
that
so
huge
there's-
misunderstanding, if you will, from staff to the board. Somewhere in
Oh, yeah.
between, a lot of misinformation was handed back and forth.
Mhm.
And so
So-
perhaps what we need to do is, put something in there about our notes to staff after board meetings to keep the staff informed
Right.
Oh, I think
of
that's
the
good.
board's decisions.
I think that would be good to put in there.
Something like that, because I think that's what you were
Mhm.
trying to get at.
Well, the other thing, and I don't know how we would do this, but if the school staff has some questions about something the board has done, or something that an individual person on the board did, and they either like it or they have some concerns about it, how, as a board, how do we deal with that? Because you don't want, the talk going on. You know, someone said, well, how do they, at the same time, you know, it's not necessarily correct for them to
Right.
talk to me directly.
It
So,
depends on the capacity in which
Yeah.
they're talking to
Right.
you directly. If they're
Right.
talking to you as an individual outside of a board
Right.
meeting, and they wanna know your motivation behind something as an individual, they can ask you that.
right,
They can ask you that, that's
Right.
okay.
right. So, I mean, that's one thing I think.
But you're speaking as an individual.
Right, yeah.
Not a board member.
We're not a board member, I think, yeah, and I think that, so, two things I think.
And if the, sorry, just a minute,
Yeah.
but say somebody comes up and asks you something, any one of us,
Right.
and we voted one way, but the board, the majority of the board voted the other. You can tell them why you voted the way you did,
Right,
but then you have to
And
make sure you
support.
tell them, but the board made a decision that affects the school by voting this way.
right,
That's
And,
important,
and,
because otherwise,
and as a board member, you support the board's decision.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you have to decide that as a group, whether you're on the losing side or not.
Right.
You are a board.
mhm.
That's a tough one.
This is a tough one, yeah, it is.
Mhm.
But, so how, I mean, as far as, I mean, that's an important part of the board-staff relationships, is how as a board do we, you know, or, first of all, communicate why the board voted in a certain way. And number two, if people have questions about how individual member voted about something, how do we process that? And I think, you know, and I think it's a good, an important part of board-staff relationships, and maybe our goal should be to find a way to deal with it.
There isn't a wall between the board and staff.
No, there isn't.
A representative of the board can be appointed to go to a staff meeting
Right,
and explain.
right,
There isn't any reason that can't happen, as long as the board agrees that that happens.
right,
Or and you also have the putting out the notes after the
Mhm.
meetings, which I did last
mhm,
meeting, so that people know what was decided and how.
mhm,
There's also the board minutes.
yeah.
The board minutes could be sent out, you know, to
Mhm.
everybody just. with a
Well, they're
push.
posted, so,
What, how many people go looking, if it showed up in their email box, they
yeah.
might be more likely to look at it.
Mhm.
But those are ways that they can be, you know,
Right,
more clear. If you're going to have a controversial decision and you feel that
mhm,
it's going to affect a group of stakeholders, be they the teachers or whoever, you should communicate your reasons why.
yeah, so
It's
that's,
just an honest thing to do.
so I think so part of our board-staff relationship would be able to explain, to develop open communication so we can explain why we've done
Right.
what we've done, both as individually and as a board.
All you don't want to become is a sounding board for whining.
Right,
That's the big thing.
right,
Yeah.
so I changed the first one to read, and Greg, just make sure that you covered what you wanted there. Keep staff informed of board's decisions on a regular basis, for example, notes to staff. No, like- Okay.
mhm.
Board community relationship.
Wait a minute,
Oh,
I
sorry.
mean, I would like to add that thing like, develop a means for the board to, what is it? Well, I suppose it's part of it, just, I mean, we should be able to, staff should find a way both to look at what we present to them and to ask questions, you know, as to why we did, you know, as a board, why we did what we did. And individually, they should feel free to contact any member of the board, and say, why did you vote the way you voted?
I mean, you could have a goal of developing an effective communication system that avoids misunderstandings.
Yeah, there you go,
I like that.
yeah.
Develop? Did you get that, Sue?
Develop an effective communication system that avoids misunderstandings. Which may mean you try something, you see how it goes, you try something, you see how it goes. Yeah,
Okay,
so you give yourself time to come up with a system that works.
okay. What is this, the last one that was there before, we just added that one? The board makes a concerted effort to know and understand that staff needs to perform their responsibilities to the fullest? What?
Anybody want to speak to them?
We don't do staff evaluations. I'd say, I think, I mean, if you wanna look at it, I mean, I think the board, you know, if you're looking in terms of student education, and, you know, that the board would wanna make sure that the strategic plan and board goals and district goals are understood and available to staff.
That's all done for the superintendent,
Yeah.
principal, I think, though.
So, is it okay to cross that one out?
I would
I
say,
don't, not mine, yeah.
Okay, do we wanna add anything else to that section before we move on then?
Yeah.
Okay. Board community relationship. Publish a paper newsletter once, maybe twice a year. The board makes every attempt to know and understand what the community wants from the school. All efforts are made to involve all aspects of the community in developing a quality school to ensure that the community sees the school as an asset and not a burden. Annual survey to the community to gather feedback about how we are doing as elected officials.
Of course, actually, we do have an annual survey, it's called elections.
Survey by proxy.
Yeah. If we're not doing well, we
Never
don't
thought about
get
that.
reelected.
That's one way to voice your opinion.
Yeah.
Huh, that's pretty true, huh?
It is. It's a direct measure.
Okay, so then maybe we don't need the annual survey.
Well, not, I mean,
There's
not,
two question marks
but
after
not-
it, so I guess somebody had a question about whether you needed it or not.
well, we're already doing the board was there to attempt to know and understand what this community wants from the school. I mean, that would include surveys, outreach.
Okay,
Yeah, that include everything, so
Okay.
you really don't, you know.
Specifically specified.
okay. Any other additions or subtractions from this?
I kind of think that 2 and 3 are almost the same. If you're not getting, attempting to know and understand what the community wants from the school, then you're making efforts to involve the community in developing a quality school.
Yeah.
So just wanna keep 1 and 2 and
Yeah.
can the rest? Okay. Do we need any additions there? Legislative and government relations. The board seeks regular and scheduled meetings with state legislators to explain the board's issues and to get feedback on legislative issues. The board accepts information and recommendations from the superintendent about upcoming legislative changes and updates.
So is the first one related to that once-a-year meeting we go to where we,
Well, actually, we could have.
You can have your reps come to a board
We
meeting.
could schedule like Dan Itzy, you know, or Tim
but we don't
Conklin.
do that, so do we want that as a goal?
Yeah, I think we should do it.
It's up to you.
I think part of the thing is you want, the only time I see representatives anytime is at the
Trash day.
trash day, at the deliberative session.
Uh,
You know, other than that, I don't have anyone ever call me up asking me what's going on. And they live in
What
town.
would be nice about this is
Yeah.
that we could actually share with them things that are burdening the district. For instance,
Right.
when they cut the retirement funding by 10% just out of the blue.
Right.
Oh, sorry, you have to pick that up.
Right,
They need to know what that means to our district.
right. I
What do
think-
we need to cut because of that? Because there's something that's gonna be missing locally,
Right.
or
Yeah.
our taxes are gonna go up, one or the
Or
other.
just go to the policy book. You got, 10,000 pages of policies. Every time you implement a new policy, it's something else we can't. And show them all the things we have to do other than educate the students.
So in other words, they're not just bringing information to us, but we're actually able
Yeah.
to let them know
Yeah.
when we're
Give
not
feedback.
necessarily pleased
Yeah.
with what they're voting on.
Even get the US rep in
Absolutely.
and show her, show them the contract, the 50-page contract we had to do with food service. 90% of it has to do with federal regulations,
Yeah.
and say, okay, I mean.
Simplify this.
Yeah, I mean, I think having, whatever her name is, would come in.
Carol Shea Porter?
Sharon, yeah, have her, invite her in. You know, and say, hey, this is what you're doing to us. This is what the waiver program is. This is how difficult to have, you know, with
So
the.
how many times a year
Okay, so
should we
you
be
wanna
doing?
keep that as a goal?
Yeah, I think she is a goal, yeah.
You can always send an invitation, give out your dates of your meetings, and ask them if they're available for a half an hour at any one of those meetings, or 45
Right,
minutes.
and we'll schedule.
And see if they show up. I mean, see if they respond,
Right,
and then just set your meeting around that.
yeah, ask them to schedule the time.
Yeah.
Alright.
Mark Joyce of the New Hampshire School Administrators Association suggests that we regularly contact our representatives, particularly about the legislation going on in the state regarding education. You know,
Right.
give your opinions, they need to know the opinions of the local people, particularly the boards, because they're the people who are in the middle of it.
Mhm.
So,
So throughout the year,
yeah.
not just once or twice, but throughout the year.
Well, send them an invitation, you know,
Sure.
get them started,
Mhm.
at least. It's a good thing to do.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add to that one? Risk management. The board ensures that issues are properly dealt with according to established procedures. Safety issues are brought to the attention of the board and dealt with effectively. The board has adequate training in risk management.
And the last one, I think, is a big one.
You can-
Training and risk management is really important,
Yeah.
because there's so many things you can do to mitigate risk. And.
Well, we probably need, is there a workshop on that? Do you know? if they
I
do?
bet Primex would come and do one for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet Primex would.
Mhm. I mean, there's risk management, not only just with, yeah, the things going on, but, you know, in what you put in minutes.
Yep.
How you comport yourself as a school board member.
Mhm.
I mean, there's all sorts of other,
Yeah, it's a big area.
regarding risk management. Because, I mean, risk management is not only so you don't want the school
Makes
to,
you up
but
just like.
but you don't
not
want
do
your,
what I'm
you don't
doing.
want, basically, risk management is how you act so you don't get sued, that's what risk management is.
How to avoid suits.
How to avoid suits, in school boards, you know, we don't want the school to be sued anymore, we want the school board to be sued. And, you know, you don't follow right to know laws and all other stuff, that's how you get sued.
Okay. Tammy, you sent these, the characteristics of effective school boards. And so I wanted to include them. I also want to know if there's a separate, if there's additional goals that we want to put forward for ourselves, other than what we see here as our responsibilities, I think is more like what I see for a lot of these. So. Did anybody look at the website that Tammy had sent out when I forwarded that to everybody?
Yeah.
I was looking at number 8, and you already include that. Training
Mhm.
and,
Mentoring.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that's kind of already in there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Effective school is allowing sustained resources such as professional development. You targeted,
Mhm.
you did the professional
Mhm.
development
Yeah.
goal.
Data savvy, we
Yeah.
asked for data,
Yeah.
said we're gonna monitor it.
And use it to drive improvement.
See, the one thing I don't like on number 2 is the school boards have strong shared beliefs and values. I don't think it's true of any school board.
You have one common belief, you believe in student learning,
That's it.
you know.
Well,
But,
that's what it
but
says.
how we get there, and what's important, what isn't important,
Right.
you know, that varies in.
That's all you need.
you
You
know,
need that one single shared belief, and the rest of it will come.
Okay, because that, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, because
And that all children can learn.
because you don't want to, I mean, to be honest with you, when you have variety in school board, that's when you get some really good discussion.
Yeah,
If everyone comes from the same point of view, you're gonna get a bland school.
No, you don't
No, I
want a
think
bunch of
it's-
clones.
This is just saying you have that one shared belief that,
Right.
you know, it's possible for all students
Okay.
to learn,
Mhm.
and for the school to teach every single student to the highest level, not just certain students. It's kind of what
Balance.
the whole school system here.
Where does that go in here? 'Cause I think
That's
I'm wondering if it should go in board meetings, or if it should go,
policy development. It's really everywhere. That's sort of an infused philosophy that should
Number
underlie
6,
every one
board
of these
member
goals.
development.
Yeah, it's on the board, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
we should put it in there.
It's
Yeah,
like an
number 6.
overall, I mean, that's like saying the purpose of all the goals,
It's part of your mission.
yeah, the mission of the, yeah, is.
It's
you know,
really part of your mission,
Yeah.
and you put your mission together, so
Okay then,
I think you're all set.
so I think we're good to go, and we actually have something to measure ourselves against next year.
Do we
We
need
need
to-
something.
Do we need to, no, wait, do we need to vote on this, on
We
these
need
goals?
to, we need to make this the new policy. Don't we have, the new, that questionnaire thing is actually the
Self-eval.
policy?
The self-eval, I don't think this is part of the policy, I think this was just a form we used.
The self-eval, I don't know, I'd have to look at the School Boards Association to see if it's aligned with this, but I think that's kind of the idea, is that their form that they offer is aligned with this. We might take a look at it. Yeah, on the spring.
Maybe it's the superintendent review, I'm
I
thinking
think
of
you are.
the policy that we need to change.
I think that's the
90
one you're
pages.
thinking of, the superintendent eval is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would suggest that, that either, if I may, compile this and then send it out for final approval next time.
Right.
Okay,
So you have some time to
Yep.
sit on it. And you know that you have your goals, the teachers can do what they need to do, but this can wait
Yep.
for the final.
so I'll compile this one more time and get it to everybody, so it's.
And I believe Mr. Sabaluski is here.
Yeah, so, we're gonna move to go into non-public for a short, brief meeting. If I can get a motion to go into non-public for, RSA 91A colon,
It would be C,
Hold on.
2C.
2C.
Yeah.
Motion for what she said.
91-A colon
I'll
3,
second it.
comma, 2, Roman numeral 2,
2C.
parentheses C.
Okay, and roll call to go in?
Phrase I.
Sure, yeah.
Keen eye.
Thank you, everybody.
All for aye. Thank you.
He's in this group. And
Back in public.
do you want to seal the minutes or not?
We'll just
I
keep
just
them
want to
basic
always
with no
ask that
names.
question. Of course, right. I will always ask that question.
Thank you.
All right. Should we turn, is it hot, people happy here?
You are.
No, it's beautiful.
I am.
My feet just hurting based on.
You might want to get some ice water.
It is a little warm in here.
Are you hot?
I'm not hot.
You are, you're so hot. And you're on, I'm on tape telling you that.
Yes, it is warm.
Thank you very much.
It's 70, but 74. Do you want me to turn the air conditioning on?
So we'll cut that right off.
No.
Was it on?
It's set at 70, but it's 74 degrees, so it's a little bit.
Does people mind
Yes,
opening the
yes.
windows? I don't mind.
Sharon.
Yeah, it's right behind her.
Finally, just one younger, needs to have a teacher in school and all that. They don't believe in terms of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's fine.
Heater or AC.
We should have a cooler, you know, something.
You don't need to turn it? Oh, leave that for now.
That's fine.
That's right. Tell her I said hello. Okay, Renee, let's
Tuition.
take care of this couple.
Do you want to do the tuition?
Q&A, one last. Put that under old business.
Right, the Sanborn tuition.
Oh, tuition, yes, I'll be down there. I'll bring it up to speed.
Okay.
We're not in that, not public?
It's on there.
Tuition? The non-public is at the end.
Okay.
The Sanborn tuition contract is public.
Yeah. I had been asked to continue the work started last year for the Sanborn tuition contract, questions and concerns about the amount of money that they're asking Fremont to pay. So I've done some research and I've spoken with Doug Hatfield from Upton and Hatfield, who had worked last year with Michelle and Ida and Lori. And I spoke also with Mark Joyce, the Executive Director of the New Hampshire School Association, School Administrators Association as well, who happens to live in Epping and is very aware of all this stuff. And I also spoke with Carol Coppola and had a back and forth with Brian Blake. And this is where we are right now. The agreement is the agreement. We know that. Doug Hatfield was, his comment was that, well, you know, some schools pay 1 1/4, 1 1/3. Mark Joyce's comment was, most of the districts that he's aware of with high school contracts pay 1.5 times. As I talked to Doug Hatfield, his comment was, the only thing that you can ask is to an accounting of making sure that you are not double charged. So what I did was I talked to Carol Coppola and had asked her to put together some financial statements for me regarding the expenses at Sanborn High School regarding special education. So what I will do is I will gather up all the standard charges for every service that they provide that is not individualized, all their paraprofessionals that are general paraprofessionals, not one-to-ones, their teachers, and any alternative programs and such that they run in the building, and I will look at that data compared to the number of students that are attending and see what it comes out to be. Then I will take a look at how much we're paying against that and see how close they are. And if there's a big disparity, then I think we have a conversation. But I will get back to you as soon as I have that data, and we'll go from there. Okay? Any questions or anything on this?
So one of the concerns that Michelle had was that all of the special ed costs were rolled up in the general ed costs. And so then she felt we were paying double.
Aren't you normally charged extra for, you know, a one-to-one pair aid?
And then we were
or-
paying that as
and
well.
for ancillary
Yes.
services and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm looking for.
So, so she felt that the base price that we were paying was
Was-
not just regular ed, it was regular ed plus special ed, then we were paying half
Right.
again on that total amount for special ed, then we were paying for special services on top of that.
Right, and that's what I'm looking for an accounting of. I wanna look at their costs for special education outside of what we are paying on top of it, to see how it compares when you divide all the students into it. What does it cost to have a special education student in the building with the services that are provided for all special education students?
Okay.
And then we should be able to get a base figure out of that.
The other thing she was looking into was, she felt the contract dictated that we paid on last year's expenses, not
doesn't.
next
It
year's
doesn't.
expenses.
It
No,
says
I-
ensuing.
Yeah.
I checked.
Yeah, it is correct. The contract as it is and how it is being administered is correct.
Okay.
In fact, this year, they actually finally billed on the quarter, rather than waiting until December to get the bills out. We have our first bill due in October, but the agreement is quarterly. So, but when I talked to Carol, she said, you know, if there's a cash flow problem or anything, just let us know, we'll work with you. They've been great. They've been absolutely great about it. So we'll see what we can find out. And I will be looking with that eye. You know, how can they justify this expense? And I'll get that information back to the board.
Our students now outnumber Newton, so you know, Brian
Yes.
and staff,
Yes.
let me know
There's
that.
a question about, you know, whether or not you wanted to push for cooperative again. I mean, that would be, you know, the obvious question. Then you'd have school board representation and all of that, but.
Yeah,
And capital buy-in costs.
Yeah. You would, but you would have a voice.
you might be able to negotiate that, but, no, yeah, I mean.
It has to pass
It has to
all
pass
three
the voters.
towns.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but there's,
They would have to have some monetary incentive to do that.
well, one thing, the incentive that Newton has is the fact that until recently, they felt they've been outvoted on the board because Kingston's a bigger town.
Yeah.
So I think the at-large representative, I think, was from Newton, which was unusual. But typically, the at-large have been from Kingston, so they've been outvoted, they felt. And people in Newton were talking to me saying, well, you know, if we had Fremont on board, we'd have a better balance
Yeah.
as far as running the school.
Well, you know, you can always put out a feeler.
Yeah,
You know, you can think about that.
right, and so.
But anyway, I will pursue that and get that information to you as soon as it is available.
All right. Yeah,
Thank
but,
you.
that would be something we have to think about for the warrant article,
Oh, yeah.
as far as our proposed budget, that we have to put together a cooperative committee. So the,
So, other Q&As.
Q&As from last time, I still have the 9 questions from financials, but if you don't mind, I'm gonna wait till Sue gets here because
good.
that just,
Yep.
I did, although I did have Yvonne, figure out what the double checks were for. And, that got lost somewhere in the mix, and so.
Yeah, my mix.
Yeah. I owns that one, so we will get that to you as soon as, I'll have Yvonne do that again, because she's still got the copy, and we'll have it sent out to all of you. And I understand your questions behind that.
Did I didn't send anybody anything, right? No,
Okay.
No.
Got
It's stuck in
lost.
her box.
It's somewhere gone.
You had a question about what in the water sampling, drinking water and groundwater Bureau master sampling schedule, what was a VOC and an SOC? And I'm gonna pass this around so you can see it, but a VOC is volatile organic compounds, and an SOC is synthetic organic compounds.
Oh.
So that's what that stands for. I have asked that in all reports from now on, there be no acronyms, no
Nothing.
initials.
This wouldn't matter,
No.
because I still don't know what it is.
Just, I don't want to think the board needs to be able to, I said, it's like, when I wrote my dissertation, my advisor said, write it like you're writing to someone who knows absolutely nothing about what you're talking about. So, and the last question that I got the answer to here is, what are the duties of the school board clerk? Here's the RSA, 19720, these are the duties of the school board clerk. And so that, because you were wondering exactly what they were responsible for. and
Any
that's-
volunteers?
That's it.
$150.
Come on. And pizza.
And that's it.
Yeah, but you already offered me free pizza,
Yeah, I
so.
know.
I think I might
Now we're
know
offering to
somebody
pay
who'd be
you to
willing
eat
to
it.
do it for us, that lives in town here, obviously.
I was working on something.
Yeah. I think I could convince somebody it would be a fun thing for them to do.
Not your friend, obviously.
Nice.
Okay, that's it.
And I think that was it. All right, so let's get back to
Minutes now.
Yep. Okay. Public minutes of September 10th, the work session. He's happy with that.
Thank you, very good. I hope you all enjoyed that. Good night, Mr. Zawodzki.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome. I have some changes on the bottom of the work session. I have already emailed them over to Susan. If you want to take a look at my suggested changes, it's just, it doesn't change any of the
Okay.
meanings of stuff. It's just the syntax and whatnot.
Okay.
That was it for me.
Did anybody have any?
Can I look at
others?
them?
Certainly.
Thank you. Oh, she's already changed it.
Did you incorporate those changes before you send out the minutes?
Oh, I must have. I don't know actually where this came from because Yvonne had attached it when she sent out
Okay,
the
if I,
agenda.
just for the future, if I come back and make changes, do not make the changes that I put in until the board has seen the original draft.
No, it's not, they're not all in.
They're not in there, okay.
Okay, so then,
Some of them, but not
All
all.
right, just to be sure though. I always send out the original
okay.
to everyone.
Did anybody have any others?
Just wait for Sharon to see if she's okay with
No,
it.
I'm good.
Okay. So
What was that? Was that your changes?
My changes, if you want to see them, they're a bunch of
I'll just
syntax.
read it really
Sure.
quickly. There was the bottom paragraph where it's indented that says there was discussion on there was discussion on how to handle requests to the SAU from individual board members outside of meetings. Dr. Cox-Buteau said that the school board seated together was her employer, and that the New Hampshire RSAs keep things running smoothly. When a board member was not sitting with the board, he or she was a member of the public and must be treated as such. In her experience, it was more efficient to hear requests at meetings so that answers could be given face-to-face. Part of her management preference was to get information in plenty of time for the school board to make decisions. She preferred to give answers and have discussion in public, and therefore all school board members would know the same information. And that is pretty much what happened that night. Okay, so do I have a
Motion to accept the work session minutes as amended.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then the school board minutes of September 10th, regular session.
I have a bunch on that as well, and I have to correct one of my corrections.
Okay.
Let's see, I'll pass this around so you can see them, but the correction that I need to make is under 2, principals report. Second paragraph, Mr. Colholter asked for information about the SAS curriculum. It's SAS, no, only, not SASS.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought
We don't
he
SAS
always
people,
called it
right?
SAS.
SAS.
He always called it
SAS.
SASS.
Well, it's, the website was SAS.
Okay,
That he sent me today, so.
okay.
Everyone else pass this around for people to take a peek at, if there's anything anybody has a question on.
And you already sent these to Sue. so-
Yeah, I already sent them, so she has anything, so if there have been any changes or objections to any of them, we just need to let her know. And I don't know, maybe the best way to do that is for me to do that and send it out to people?
It's all in what you
Yeah.
prefer, because we've had other
Years ago, we used to
superintendents who
do
didn't
that.
want anybody making anything until
Till the meeting.
the night of the meeting. And
That's,
when it's just grammatical changes and things, I don't know why it matters. It's when the meat of the
Yeah.
content
It is, yeah.
needs to be questioned,
Yeah.
that I
you
think it
just don't
becomes
want
an
the meaning of
issue.
anything to be changed,
Right.
that's the big thing.
Well, I can see just one little change here. It says about half the preschool students are tuition students. It should,
Yes.
which wasn't, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically 50% typical years.
Right. Wait,
John says two
that mean
S's.
which is the norm?
That's
What's it
what's
mean?
what's required.
Sexual assault,
There's the website right there.
SASS, sexual assault support services.
It is SASS. Okay, then John sent a typo in his
So,
email to me.
correct your correction
I
of
will
the
get
correction.
him, yes, recorrect my correction. I will get him in the morning, because he sent me a website with it just SAS.
Yeah, okay. Because it says about half the preschool students are tuition students, shouldn't that? Like I said, which is the norm, not which was the norm?
Yes, I suppose it could.
Yeah.
Oh, was.
It is, that's fine, which it
Are you a
is the
critical
norm.
writing teacher?
It's like grammatical thing,
Yeah.
grammatical.
Did anybody else have any others?
I didn't have any.
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Just waiting for
Make sure everybody
Motion,
checks it
yeah.
out.
So, when are we gonna ask the energy committee those questions?
I'm penning a letter to Gene Cordis.
All right,
He wrote to me and asked me, and I told him I was getting to it.
all right.
It wasn't like it was an emergency. I don't think they meet again for another month.
Yeah, okay, good.
But I do have all your questions.
Oh, good.
Stay away.
You need a refill on that coffee.
No, I don't, actually, it was
If you
decaf.
let me mentor you, I would have already
Yeah,
had it.
Oh, really?
Alrighty.
No way, cream and.
Yeah, and sugar too.
You just drink it black?
Yes. Dark roast black.
Me too. Strong.
Chocolate milk.
I like
his
chocolate
caffeine
milk.
Yeah.
This isn't better.
Chocolate milk is actually.
I'm fine with
good.
If you don't have a lactose intolerance problem.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're physically
Okay, so
exercising.
motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Correspondence, if any, I don't think there is any. Subcommittee reports, policy committee. We have not met yet, but we will plan on meeting next month because we do not have any more early meetings scheduled for workshops. What's that?
Someday we won't meet again.
We'll just plan
It'll
on
be
5
the-
o'clock. Is it 5 or 5:30?
5:30.
5:30, and the second meeting of October. Okay, plan on that. And I'll send out
So we attack
stuff
that
in
one.
between, just to give you something to work on before we meet.
Okay, budget committee.
So
You
there
got
was,
lots of news.
yeah, so, well, so there were some questions submitted by the budget committee about staffing levels in their object code, and I can forward you, I sent them to Betsy and I got the replies sent to give to the committee this Wednesday. I can forward it to everyone who wants to see it. I forget the exact questions, there were like 4 of them, all around staffing. and
Actually, I'll
schooling.
send you guys all, I can just forward it to the, I thought I didn't do that.
So it's all around staffing at the school and the SAU and the object codes and all that kind of stuff.
And that's why we need to have a meeting about the budget, so that you can answer those questions right there in the
Yeah,
meeting.
you remember.
Oh,
Those are
okay.
questions that you probably can answer.
Yeah, but I don't know.
No, they wanted a comparison
Or
of
they want
3
numbers.
years.
Oh.
Yeah, they wanted,
Yeah.
they wanted to know what the staff was last year, what the actual staff is this year, and what the differences were.
Yeah.
So I put together side-by-side spreadsheets and highlighted them in color and did all the stuff, so it would make it very simple for them to see.
So there have been some changes in the budget committee. Griffin Cordis,
Yeah.
left to move out of town. Gene Cordis is going to go to the selectmen committee, so he's moving. So they'll have to appoint a new chair. I cannot make Wednesday night's meeting. If anyone want to volunteer to cover,
This Wednesday,
yeah,
time's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, I believe, yeah.
Do we volunteer, or do the school board need to appoint? I think the school board needs to appoint.
Well, he
It's-
can have an
From what they,
alternate.
from what they said, that as long as we appoint someone a secondary, they can show up and have all full voting power and all that
Right,
fun stuff.
right.
The information I need to bring them, or that needs to be brought to them Wednesday night, is the reply from Betsy, and also I penned a letter about the
Yeah,
grant
but-
money.
We haven't asked to be put on the agenda, so.
I don't think they'll care.
mm.
They're
You sent them all about the what, the grant money?
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
About,
So-
It's on the agenda for
Yeah,
tonight.
so, so I have to leave town for training, I found out Monday, so.
I can go,
Wanna go?
I can go.
You help vote in the new chair.
Yeah, who do you want? This
You.
is really your man.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I probably have to be there anyway to talk about the other thing, if they'll let me put it on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sure you will. They're easy ones.
Just email the
So-
chair,
I believe starting the next, I think it's starting this week, or maybe in 2 weeks, we start meeting every Wednesday, so.
Who's the co-chair?
Charlie,
Charlie?
So I
Oh,
imagine-
okay, so I can stop by his house and let him know that I
yeah,
need to be on
so
the
I
agenda.
assume Charlie will be the chair.
For friends. Okay. And that's about it, right? Because you can make all the other ones,
Yeah, I can make all the other ones, it's just that one.
right? Okey-dokey. Negotiations committee. That's me and Sharon, for the teachers anyway.
Right.
We're in the process, working on it, moving forward.
Have you met with them yet?
Yes, twice. Once for ground rules and once for a meeting, and so we're moving along.
All right.
We have our ground rules next week, right?
Right,
The first.
first.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, the sports staff.
Support
Yeah.
staff,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Board of Selectmen's Committee.
I did meet with them, and we went over the final audit for the school, and that we had $229,000 to return to town, which actually was supplied, Greg, actually, they actually had the information via the budget committee to the
Yeah.
selectmen. I also talked to them about our curriculum hoedown. And actually got one of them to actually, after the meeting, he actually sent in,
It was the one who.
yeah, he said,
One of the 3 people.
one of 3 people, so I did talk to him about that, and I talked to him about the need, you know, that we are really soliciting input, we think the public that want to offer the school and ideas, and we really would want to one thing we didn't realize, unfortunately, that the budget committee actually changed their meeting night so they could all come, and we didn't know that because no one.
So we feel bad.
Yeah, so I feel bad about that, and I think.
How would you know if nobody told you?
Yeah, I know, we
I
should,
still feel bad.
I think we should, if you do go tomorrow night, maybe we should give them
Thank
some
them.
kudos, thank them for what they did,
Yeah.
because that was a great commitment, and that we wish that they had called the superintendent, know that.
Well, it
they-
wasn't for spaghetti.
So, yeah, that they
When
had
you go
done that.
tomorrow night, just talk bad about the person that should have told you that they changed the meeting.
Oh, oh,
Sorry.
that's all right.
I was in when they changed it, I think,
All
so.
right.
We'll forget you this time.
All right.
Okay, PTA liaison, that's Tammy, or is it Greg?
No, it's
Tammy.
me.
Okay.
Went to the first meeting. It was pretty much from introductions, you know, they're setting up the school year, list of meetings, calendar of events. They will be having, they'll do it the same fashion as they did last year. I guess it worked out well, where every other month they do 1 month as a night, and then the next month they do it in morning
Right.
time.
Right.
The one thing, and that's pretty, you know, that's pretty much all they did, but there was one question that came up, and I wanted to pass it by the board. There was a grant request for Mr. Brown,
Mhm.
and it had to do with insulating between, the music room is now outside in the trailers. And it
Okay.
had to do with insulating between those, because, you know, it was really loud for the other class.
Yes, yes.
And then, and one thing, something about putting up, there's drop down stairs for an attic area, and something about putting access there, but, you know, and I can't remember the specific things, but we were trying to figure out, when is it?
It's a mini grant app, is that what it was?
He was going to apply for that, and they said, you know, anything they thought that had to do with maintenance that's permanent should be something that goes through the school board, you know, or in his budget. So I was
Yeah.
just trying to figure out how to answer them the next time, because I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna ask the question.
There's a process in place for mini grants where, when a teacher asks for a mini grant and the PTA gets the mini grant, they speak with the principal to make sure that the things aren't in the budget already, and that the person just might not know that. Or is there money in the budget, but they can take care of that, so that it doesn't have to be mini grant.
Well, Mr.
Funds.
Safina suggested that he go to the PTA, but because it was.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, but
Okay.
because it was, something to do with structurally.
Not the
Right.
kids.
That's
Yeah.
not typically a grand item.
Yeah, and I
That's
didn't
amazing.
understand
Kids,
why
it's
they'd be
the
going
building.
through.
So it was supplies to insulate between the two?
Oh, it was, yeah, it was supplies for that, supplies for, because obviously you're putting in permanently to do
Mhm.
this,
Mhm.
stairs permanent.
Oh.
I never saw the request and I never heard about the
Yeah.
request.
When I don't, you know, and it was
It should've come
stated
up.
as Mr. Safina is the one that directed him to the
Mhm.
PTA, but I had questions on
It's not.
when is
appropriate.
it something that's a grant request, and when is it, well, wait a minute, that has to do with, you know, permanent change.
It depends on the grant.
Improvement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
grant's
the mini
usually
grant,
online.
the mini grant is, it was put into place for the teachers. I mean, I was on the PTA when we made that, when we
Okay.
established the mini grant and
There's
funded
probably
it.
some guidelines in the grant.
There are guidelines in the grant. There's a booklet that tells you what the mini grant is all for.
Well, that's.
But there's
what I
also
wanna
checks and
know.
balances, because, like I said, sometimes a teacher might not know
Mhm.
that there's funds for that, and so they might ask for it, and then the principal can always say, no, you know, we have funds for that.
Okay.
And I don't know if it says the superintendent too, or if it just says the building principal, the mini grant, you know, so, yeah,
That's not something I normally go with.
I mean, we did a dishwasher for the science lab,
Mm.
that's a permanent piece of something.
Yeah, but that's used directly for student learning.
Yeah.
I mean, although the installation will have a direct effect on student
Exactly.
learning. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about
Yeah.
that. Scott did talk to me about the need for the insulation, and I told him the place he really needs to insulate is above the ceiling,
Mhm,
because the sound will travel up and over rather than through the wall, being a
mhm.
music teacher.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I just kind of wanted guidance, because I wanted to be able to, you know, say when,
Well,
you know, it would be appropriate or wouldn't be,
My
because I
only-
just wasn't sure.
Yeah, my question would be, is this PTA privy of another sort of grant outside the mini grants that they can apply for to get
Yes,
That's the-
sometimes, they have
Yeah.
like the Lowe's grant,
Right,
they have a whole bunch of different
Yes.
things
Lowe's
they
grant
would
would be
do.
great for that.
yeah, so that
And
means,
it, maybe
yeah.
they were gonna use the, was it the mini grant or was it the Lowe's? It was the mini grant,
So a
okay.
mini grant may not be appropriate, but another type of grant would be.
The problem is though, if you're going to do something like that, that's money that's gonna go through that has to go through our system. You're making a capital change there, and it's,
Well,
we can't accept
That's how
any
I saw
funds.
it.
So,
Right,
that's.
Yeah, so I think if it raises a red flag, chances are it's best if you direct the treasurer
Mhm.
or the PTA president to maybe Betsy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
give me a buzz.
Okay.
Yeah, if a red flag comes up and it just doesn't seem like it might be quite right.
How much, do you know how much it was?
It was just for $250.
Yeah, they only have
I
two.
think the mini grants are only $250 anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it wasn't anything that was done negatively, I think he was just trying to, he probably knows his
He's just trying
budget
to save
right
money.
down to the
Yep,
dime.
he does.
Because he's that good,
He is,
and,
and if
And
he
he
can get it
probably
someplace
wants to
else, he's
do-
gonna try.
right, and he always wants to do what's best, and he
Yep.
wants to do things the right way. and-
No fault to him.
Oh, no, he's,
unless,
Incredible.
yeah,
And
unless
he's a
like,
musician too.
yes.
unless somebody wants to donate the, you know, the insulation to the
Yes,
school.
that's right, they could do that.
They could do that, they could donate the insulation, that's not a money.
Yeah, well, I
So
just,
they could
I didn't
do
wanna
that.
make it a big thing, I just wanna make sure that I am directing them, you know.
Yeah.
in
So
the-
follow the guidelines of the
Correctly.
grant.
Okay, that's it, sorry.
No, that's good. Professional development liaison. I have no idea who that is.
Do we have one?
I don't know, I have a list of, I have this sort of innocuous list of committees
Michelle?
on the
Oh, yeah.
cork board in front of my desk. So we just took all the lists and put it on the agenda.
Because we used to
Did you,
have someone who did that, because they were working on the professional development.
was it a professional development committee?
Yeah, and that they didn't propose
Was
to the
that for,
state.
well, yeah, that was for writing the professional
Yeah.
development model.
Right,
Okay, then that would not be something that you would do regularly.
Right.
That would be
Right,
every few
and I
years.
think
Right.
it's me, and
right.
I'm only called in there. No, I'm pretty sure it's me, and I'm only called in if there's some, and I think it's part of the CBA, actually. It's like it's a committee that was formed to keep a liaison between the staff and the board, and it's part of the CBA.
Okay, well, if it's your responsibility, you take care of it.
It is, and I was told that the only time I get invited to that is if they have a meeting,
Okay.
which they never really do unless something comes up.
Right, the professional development committee just reworked our master plan. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is different, this is, and
But I know the CBA pretty well, and I'm not recalling that
Should be.
paragraph,
It
so
should
I
be
have to look it
CBA.
up.
So if there's nothing to report, there's nothing to report.
Right, there's definitely nothing to report there.
Okay.
And curriculum committee, I think there's something to report there.
Yes, there is. We actually, we will do the presentation next meeting. And we have a very good presentation. The only reason why we're doing it is because she wasn't able to attend tonight, and she wanted to be part of the presentation.
Oh, that's right, so we're not doing it
Angela.
until
Angela,
next week.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
10.
next meeting.
10.
Okay,
And
that's
we
got it.
can, and now, then the slides will be in the agenda packet
Yeah.
that you get out,
Okay.
that you get for the next meeting, for the presentation, so.
It's a joint board teacher committee.
The professional development committee.
Yeah, it's a sidebar of the agreement.
Yeah, very good.
Actually, that's never been implemented.
I'm the actual person on that. It used to be Deb Gaffner when she was on the board,
Alright.
and then when, yeah, yeah,
Oh, you can check that out.
Okay,
okay.
I remember that.
Public input. Did anybody sign in and want to speak up at all about anything?
I know that later you're talking about the mission statement, and I had, as a parent, and again, I know what you mean by wearing multiple hats. I have a staff hat, I have a parent hat, and I have a union hat. Whenever I go into John's office, I ask. But I have my parent hat, community member hat on right now. I went to respond to that on my personal email. Unfortunately, the internet at our end of the building keeps dropping out, as you guys probably already know. And it dropped, didn't send, dropped in my draft folder, and I had no idea that it didn't get sent until John mentioned that there was very little input on the mission statement. So I wanted to offer my input, and then, you know, you guys could do with it what you wish. My comment about the addition to the mission statement is not necessarily in response to what was added, but in the nature of what was added. It changes the parallelism of the phrasing. Right now, what you have there is a description of the kind of learner that we want to create. You have one that can work independently and cooperatively with others, that has a thirst to learn, values community involvement. You've described a learner. The last statement that is added on there is not parallel to that. What it is it's a statement of content. And my concern is by adding content to our mission statement, it doesn't jive with the rest of it. And then it begs the question, where will we add other content to our mission statement? Should we add on there that our students will be ecologically conscious? Should we add other things that currently exist in our Common Core? I'm not saying that that is not important knowledge. I completely agree that it is. But what I'm saying is that the correct spot for it right there? Or should we be defining what we are looking for in our learning community and let our curriculum define the content that is being taught? I'm just questioning, is it the right place for it, being parallel structure?
I think we felt it was already in the curriculum.
We just take the bargain, but
Yeah.
we don't need to answer.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I just wanted to make that point because I felt that it needed to be said, and unfortunately, like I said, it dropped in the draft folder. So I'm just offering that now.
All right, thank you.
I have one question about the drop folder. Do you know if any other teachers experienced the same thing and do you know of any that had told you that it happened to them too?
I don't know. I do know that there were several staff members who felt that they wanted to give input, but were hesitant, so they did not give
Oh, really?
input.
Oh,
Okay.
that's too bad.
The feeling was very similar to what I said. I think I come at it from a language arts point of view, so when I talk parallelism, they all glaze over. But they felt again that the discussion of what our learners were was a different place than we should have content, and content should be handled in our definition of our curriculum rather than in our mission statement. That was a view held by at least 3 teachers that I could speak for. I can't obviously give names because I don't want to represent them. But I don't know whether they gave input or not. I can't speak to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Sue?
I
You just need to state your name and where you live. For the record, please. Sorry, Don.
No, that's fine. Do you want me to go back
Sure.
to that? Just
Yeah.
Don Kidd, 26 Scribner Road in Fremont.
Thank you.
Sue Levine, 72 Road Drive in Fremont. I just wanted to ask about, we talked about the budget committee, and at the last meeting, they talked about the budget schedule, and thank you for sending me the budget schedule. And Andy had mentioned that the board can give guidance to the administration on the budget and setting the budget. And I just wondered if that conversation had happened, because it looked from the schedule like budgets have already started being built. But when, at the last meeting, it was said that guidance had not yet been given. So I just wondered, how was the administration and staff building the budget? Were they level funding, or how?
That's a very good question. I think something we need to take into account, because we had done that the last 2 years. This year, the board hasn't discussed general parameters of the budget. And that's something I think we need to do. I think we should put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
That was it. Thanks.
Action items, potential revision for clarification on policy JFAB.
Yes, JFAB, okay, you voted to amend the policy JFAB for determining tuition for non-resident students. And my question was the use of the term current. I read through it afterwards and I said, because the DOE 25, which calculates the cost per pupil, is not due until September 1st. Chances are, if you're going to have a non-resident tuition student, they're going to start at school before then. So how do you want to determine what is current? Most school districts actually set a non-tuition to, a non-student, non-resident tuition formula of some kind in June, so that if someone comes over the summer, you can use a projected amount, you can use last year's amount, you can do whatever you want, but by September 1st would be too late. So I need some guidance on that.
My thinking is this, is that what we could do is that, you know, June, we know what the following year's budget's gonna be. And what we, I mean, there's a couple ways we could calculate. We could look at last year's tuition rate and then multiply it times whatever the increase in the budget is. So there's a 3% increase, it's last year's plus 3%. And, I mean, that's not the most accurate way of doing it, but that's probably the most efficacious way of us.
There's that, and also the way the Sanborn does it, which there is a form that
Oh,
the
yeah.
state uses to project this year's income, and that's, this year's tuition, and that's what they use to charge
Okay, we do that too.
Fremont. So you could use the form as well.
And that form comes out in,
Oh, it's just a regular form. It can be figured at any time.
right,
The estimated current expenditure per pupil, I've got that here.
So it would be figured June, so that it would go into effect July 1st.
Right.
And you would figure it any time in June,
Right.
because you'd have all the info
You'd
by
have the
then.
info by then.
Okay, that makes the most sense to me.
Works for me.
So then how do we change the wording of the motion?
I'll come back to with a proposed change for policy.
Perfect,
all right.
We'll do that.
okay,
thank you.
sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we get something.
Does that sound good with everybody? I should have asked.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be nice if we get something for this, we don't have one, a set tuition rate for this year, do we?
Well, we were using the current.
You're using the current one,
Yeah,
which is one in
current,
place
right.
now.
There is
Right.
one in place now that we
Right.
didn't have to
That we're
figure,
using.
project
Right.
ahead because it
Right.
is the current one.
Right.
Yeah, I had recommended a motion here, but ignore that because it's a policy, so we need to do a reading situation, so I'll bring that back.
Okay. Letter to Commissioner to accept unanticipated revenue. Okay, we're gonna switch gears
Yeah.
from a special meeting for the Title 1A Focus School Designation Funds that we're supposed to use to comply with the
Okay,
focus
can we have a
month.
little recess?
We can recess for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Pizza?